Hi, and welcome to today's webinar presented by O3 Solutions. This is our monthly webinar series, What's New in Work Packaging. And today's presentation is all about introducing ONField, field mobility for workface planning. So before we get started, we want to start off with a brief safety moment, and this one hits really near and dear to me. I presented this first a couple of weeks ago at a company meeting and just talked about the importance of water safety as we're in the summer and we're doing some water activities. Recently, my daughter was involved in an incident where luckily she knew not to swim alone and was swimming with a friend. One of her friends was in some trouble and she was able to pull the friend out and everyone was well and good. But there are definitely some safety hazards involved. You can see over to the left that there are 3,500 to 4,000 lives lost per year due to drowning and other safety-related incidents around water. So just some things to keep in mind. Never leave a child alone around water. Know your limitations. Never swim alone. So this is the one that became very important in my daughter's case. Wear a life jacket that's appropriate for your weight, size, and the activity that you're participating in. Always wear a life jacket while boating. It's encouraged to swim sober and be aware of your surroundings at all times. Understand you can actually have trouble with breathing and hyperventilation, even in the inches of water. So be aware of that. Know how and when to call for help wherever you may be. So in the US, we have 911, for example, but that may be a different number for wherever you may be on vacation. So know how to get in touch with someone if you do find yourself in an emergency situation. And finally, know the types of risks that are associated in the water environment that you're in. So for example, with rivers, you want to know the currents and the directions around oceans. Pay attention to those flags that you see that have any dangers. And just be aware, especially if you're on vacation, of any of the unique situations with that water environment. Next, we'll just start off with, who's hosting today's webinar. So we are O3 Solutions, and O3 is a modern web-based platform that leverages advanced work packaging and agile best practices to disrupt the status quo for companies in industrial construction. And our goal is to help improve productivity, safety, quality, and predictability. These are some examples of the clients and projects that O3 has worked on, and you can see here that we help our clients with the change management process associated with introducing AWP. The last time we took a survey of people attending our webinars, we learned that over 65% of you are just getting started with AWP. So that's something that we've built into our services and our solutions to help make it easy to manage change at your organization. We also help our clients support collaboration across multiple companies and different disciplines on their projects. We automate data connections across different systems and processes. We meet our clients where they are and scale AWP to fit the unique needs of the project size, portfolio needs, and the level of AWP maturity. And we drive adoption of advanced work packaging across the entire project lifecycle. So from concept through commissioning, not just getting started in the construction execution phase, but the advanced part of advanced work packaging is getting started early as concept. And we are also members of several construction industry organizations that we believe are leading the way in AWP. So now that you've got a good understanding of who O3 is and a little bit about our experience, I want to introduce you to today's presenter. So Colin Budka is the Associate Product Manager here at O3. He is responsible for the adoption and happiness of our solutions across all of our client types. And he works with our clients to make sure that we are building solutions that meet the needs of where they are in their advanced work packaging program. He has experience with projects in manufacturing, oil and gas, and chemicals, and he is an electrical engineer from Case Western Reserve University. You might recognize him from the CII AWP Performance and Benchmarking Subcommittee, where he has been part of many of the projects that team is working on. So with that, I welcome all of you today. Welcome you, Colin, and I will turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Mandy, for that introduction. Today, we'll be focusing on setting up your project for success, focusing specifically on field mobility for workplace planning software. We're going to break this presentation down into three main areas. The first is understanding the key components of successful workplace planning software. Within that, we'll be diving into the needs of three key users: workplace planners, construction managers, and forepersons. Finally, we'll close out by understanding how field mobility can be used to increase foreperson time in the field, which is correlated with improved outcomes for safety, productivity, and efficiency. We've already gone through our introductions and safety moment, and we'll be now be reviewing our agenda. As I mentioned, we'll be reviewing the requirements of the software to support workplace planning. We'll walk through pieces needed to support the workplace planner, pieces needed to support the construction manager, the pieces needed to support the foreperson. We'll be reviewing our ONField field mobility solution, and we'll talk about where the technology is going. Starting off with the workplace planning software. The goal of any workplace planning software is to create, track, and manage work packages. Fundamentally, the software needs to make people's lives easier and help drive this workplace planning process towards success. The first key capability that's needed is to be able to create packages both graphically by pulling components in from a model and non-graphically from other elements such as a cable schedule or instrumentation list. We also need to be able to detail these packages, adding in key fields like schedule dates and linking in data from document management and materials management, with as much of this process being automated as possible. We also need to manage our workflow, tracking constraints and approvals through statuses from development, construction review, issuance, and any other work steps needed. And these workflows need to be configurable to support the needs of any given project. We need to be able to track and remove constraints or anything that can block us from being able to execute the work. We need to provide a real-time status view to capture progress and updates without duplicative entry, but make sure that we're providing that data in as close to real time as possible in order to support our reporting and analytics. By providing visibility to construction management, we can make sure that we're making the right progress with the right rates and schedule and address any issues that arise throughout our project. Overall, this will help us consistently gather the information that the field will need, remove barriers to success, issue our packages in a consistent format, and gather progress to close the loop on our overall project. We're first going to talk about the requirements in order and see how the software can be used to support the Workface Planner. For the Workface Planner to be successful, they need to be able to scope their work packages both graphically and non-graphically, manage the work package through its life cycle, remove constraints, and successfully issue it to the field. For graphical and non-graphical scoping, we first need to be able to take in whatever model format is used. Once we have this model information considered, we need to be able to combine the data from multiple sources. This can come from the metadata in the model, this can come from spool and fabrication data, and this can also come from flat file data such as the instrument index. We need to be able to use this data to the fullest extent possible, linking in materials and drawings and other sources that might be identified, because this is going to allow us to both automate the process and also ensure that we're keeping as much of that data in sync as possible. When we're creating these packages non-graphically, we need to replicate this scoping process when the model is not available, working from our cable schedule or instrument index, but still making sure that we're proceeding with a consistent and successful process. Once these packages are scoped, we need to be able to add in our package details. We need to be able to relate this work package to other potential sources, such as document management systems and materials management systems. We need a status workflow to guide us through the steps, and we need to drive our workflow off of approvals where needed. This will ensure that we both do not require any duplicative entry, and we also need to make sure that we have all of the data that our four people will need to succeed in the field. One of the biggest barriers to successful construction execution on any project is ensuring that the work that makes it to the field is constraint-free and available to be executed. This can come in the form of common constraints, like making sure we have the relevant drawings and we have the relevant materials. These constraints will span multiple systems, and any successful workface planning system needs to be able to identify and gather this information and consolidate it in one place. Where these barriers can be immediately removed, we need to remove them. Where they're not able to be immediately removed, we need to be able to assign and track these barriers to make sure that they're removed before they block that work in the field. Once we've removed these barriers, we need to be able to issue our work to the field. We need to be able to easily issue each installation work package and the associated information to the field the same way every time, that we're always working off a consistent sheet of music, and our forepersons can understand what they're going to get and consistently prepare in the same way. This also involves easily reporting progress without the duplication of efforts, so that we can gather that live progress from the field and make sure that we're staying fully informed both on the status and progress of our work packages and on what we can do to improve our installation work package creation. If our software is able to consistently do these four things: create the package, manage the workflow, clear the constraints, and communicate this information to the field, as workface planners, we will see efficient package creation, standard and predictable planning and packages, and we can consistently issue quality packages to the fields that are ready to work. And this will ensure that we're doing our part to set construction up for success. In order to support our construction manager, we really need to provide that real-time visibility. This involves visibility into upcoming work, what's blocking work and how we can fix it, and where we are currently utilizing things like status visualization. For our upcoming work, we need to make sure that we have a significant backlog of available work in order to keep all trades, disciplines, and areas fully staffed and fully supported. We need to make sure that we have sufficient manpower and resources to meet our schedule. And we need to keep track of SimOps to make sure that we're understanding the trade limitations and where we have potential trade stacking so that we can properly plan for successful upcoming work. We need to understand what is blocking work and how to fix it. I need to understand what is blocking my IWPs by company and by discipline and by area. I need to understand and highlight my urgent one-time issues that I need to immediately clear to keep my critical path moving forward. And I also need to understand my systemic issues so I know where to improve overall on my project. I also need to be able to understand status and progress. I need to be able to see S-curves and productivity factor to understand my progress and efficiency. I need to understand my status visualization to see the context of this progress within the model. And I need to utilize my Gantt charts to understand how this progress fits into my overall schedule so that I can drive construction to completion. If I can provide all of these things, then as the construction manager, I'll be able to successfully understand where I am currently, what's blocking me now and in the future, and I can make sure that I have available work to keep the crews busy if an issue arises. And these three things really will help me manage my project and make sure that I'm driving construction to success. Next, let's talk about supporting the foreperson. The field is where the rubber really meets the road in workface planning and where the process can sometimes fall short. We really need to understand how to meet the needs of the field with the ultimate goal of freeing up the construction foreperson to spend as much time in the field as possible. The ways that we can do this, the first one is making sure that when they're receiving an installation work package, it's fully ready to go. It has all the definition that's needed, and all of the constraints that can be removed are removed. We also need to understand the linked packages and open issues. That way, as a foreperson, if there are other things that I'm going to need to understand and check right as the package is beginning or throughout the process, I have those clearly identified and understood so that I can keep an eye on those throughout my work package lifecycle. I need to be able to flag and communicate any blocking issues to get those quickly resolved. And I need to easily capture progress and data to keep that information synced back to the office so that they can stay fully in the loop. All of this and that ultimate goal of keeping the foreperson in the fields really lends well to the application of field mobility. The first piece of field mobility is making sure that the installation work packages that are issued have considered the constraints in the field. To support this, we've allowed our Workface Planner to take the work package into the field and mark up any attachments for potential issues or other considerations. And this is the first piece of our on-field application and the first piece of any successful workface planning tool with field mobility. As the foreperson, I also need to be able to access my work packages. Once these are issued to the fields, I need to make sure I have access to up-to-date information. I need to make sure that there are not old versions floating around. And I need to make sure that any last-minute changes are directly communicated. Finally, I need to see all of this information in a clear and concise and consistent format so that I can always understand my requirements and view my drawings where needed. Once execution begins, I need to be able to quickly and easily update progress. I need to be able to capture this progress directly in the field easily without the need to run this information back into the office. This will provide the planner and the construction manager with up-to-date information without the need for me as the foreman to run back and forth between the field and the office. Finally, I need to be able to view up-to-date constraint information. Ideally, I'll be receiving constraint-free packages, but sometimes not all constraints can be cleared before I receive the package. I need to make sure that I have the information that I need to understand what could block the work before it starts, so that I can reach out to the appropriate stakeholders, and that I have access to a library of installation work packages if I'm instructed to proceed on another package from my constraint-free backlog should the plans change. So what does this all mean? For my workplace planning process to be successful, I need certain things out of my software. I need to be able to create work packages efficiently with all necessary information. I need to be able to detail these packages. I need to be able to track them through the workflow. I need to be able to issue these packages clearly and consistently. I need to be able to provide a real-time status view. I need to be able to provide visibility into the process through reporting and analytics. I need to be able to bring these processes to the field where appropriate. And overall, my software needs to make the whole process easier, not harder. If all of these requirements are met, I expect to be able to see the following benefits. As a workface planner, I should be able to efficiently create packages. These packages should be in a consistent format and should always be right by the time I issue them to the field. And I should be able to ensure that my work is fully defined and ready for the field by the time I issue them. As a construction manager, I should be able to understand my status, my progress, and my budget to understand the current state. I should be able to remove the recurring barriers that I have identified to continue to improve my project. And I should be able to ensure that I have a sufficient backlog of available work so that when those issues arise, if and when those issues arise again, I have additional work that I could so that I can redeploy these crews and make sure that everyone has the work that they need to stay busy. As a foreperson, I need to understand my ready-to-work packages and make sure that I have the up-to-date information. I need to be able to remove and identify barriers, and I need to be able to maximize my time in the field. And overall, for the project, if I'm able to do all of these things, I expect to see my foreperson spending more time in the field, and I expect to see a more consistent application of advanced work packaging and workface planning. Overall, this will allow me to run a more predictable project and where I'll see benefits in safety, quality, and efficiency. So what's next? And how can we continue to expand our field mobility? For our on-field application, we plan to continue to expand this functionality beyond what's currently available in the market. This will allow us to expand constraint management to the field, both for the foreman or workplace planner if they identify any issues that arise directly, and also for the constraint owner to be able to walk down the particular constraint issue and solve it directly from the field. Likewise, I want to be able to provide approvals directly from the field, manage any requests for information, and access the full library of drawings if there's a particular drawing that I need to view for context. All of this goes to being able to reduce the installation work package prep and execution time with automation and bringing the right information to the field. For the superintendent, we also want to provide a plot plan view to provide some color coding status visualization by discipline and progress, filtering by planner, start dates, and having the ability to drill down into installation work packages. This will allow me to understand my trade density across all of these areas and make sure that I'm able to stay fully informed of the progress and status of each one of those installation work packages so that I can intervene where needed. We're very excited to continue to expand these capabilities and our field mobility and look forward to working with you on your projects. Does anyone have any questions? We'd love to hear your thoughts and are happy to answer any questions you might have about what it takes to provide successful workplace planning software and how we can bring these same capabilities into the field.
So at this time, if you do have a question for Colin, you can enter that into the questions field and go to webinar over to the right. I'll go ahead and get started though. I have a couple questions that we generally get whenever we talk about our mobile solution. So we'll get started there while we're waiting for other questions to come through. So one of the questions we get all the time, and hopefully Colin, you can address this directly, is about stable internet connections. So we know some of our client projects don't often have the most secure internet or stable internet connections rather. So is the ONField solution available offline?
Absolutely. For those of you that were involved in our ONField beta, we do have a offline mode available for all of the functionality that we showed today. And we're expanding this to our production release that you can see in the App Store in the upcoming weeks.
Great. Another question that we get often, does O3 supply the iPads for the solution?
No, so we, as a software company, we're really focused on providing the best possible solutions, and the need of various sites for hardware differ for what cases are needed for a Class 1 and Div 1, for example. So we provide the software and help train you on how to use it effectively. But you as the company are responsible for making sure that you have the right hardware to succeed.
All right. So you mentioned that ONField is part of ONBuild. If I am already an O3 client and currently use the ONBuild solution, how do I go about getting ONField for my project?
So you can reach out directly to your project manager. They can help get you set up with some quick and easy training. You can have training in about 30 minutes to an hour to get fully up to speed on the application. And the project manager will be able to help you both with the configuration and with scheduling that training.
All right, looks like we had one other question come in. How long does it take to get trained and get started?
Sure, so within O3, for the initial project configuration for ONBuild, that's something that we configure within a matter of weeks. And that initial training, depending on whether you're just using the software for a few items or as a super user, can range from a couple of hours to about a day of training. For ONField specifically, it's about 30 minutes to an hour of training.
Great. Thanks. Well, that looks like all of the questions that we have for today. So want to encourage you, if you enjoyed today's presentation, you might want to go check out the other webinars that we have available at our website, which is listed there on the screen, www.o3.solutions. Please note that there is no .com. It is o3.solutions. You can also submit any questions that you have after the presentation, if you happen to think of that, through that email address there, info@o3.solutions, and Colin or anyone on our product team can help answer any specific technical questions that you may have that weren't addressed today. We really appreciate your time and attention today. We know that you have a lot of options out there of things to learn and different solutions that you want to know about. And we are very thankful that you chose to spend some time today with O3 Solutions. And thank you, Colin, for a great presentation and being part of the session today. We hope that you've enjoyed this, and we wish you a safe and productive day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mandy.